Is it time for the Indiana Fever to do the unthinkable? With the front office shockingly closing their books on adding any more centers, a controversial question is brewing behind the scenes. Should they bring back Liz Cambage? We have to discuss this, because the fact that it's even an option reveals how dangerously mismanaged the Fever's front court is right now. Before we dive into this massive roster blunder and the one-injury doomsday scenario that could ruin their season, welcome back to Simply Explained. Here, we break down the biggest sports mysteries, rumors, and controversies so you get the full story without the filler. Hit that subscribe button and let's get straight into the shocking truth about Indiana's massive gamble. Right now, Indiana is operating with Aaliyah Boston as their starting center. She is an undeniable all-star, a franchise cornerstone, and arguably the most vital piece of the puzzle right next to Caitlin Clark. But looking at the bench behind her paints a terrifying picture. They've got Damiris Dantas as the only true backup big. That is the entire center rotation for a franchise claiming to have championship aspirations. Dantas is a respected veteran, but she averaged less than 5 points and barely over 2 rebounds in limited minutes last season. Those are not the statistics of a backup center on a title-contending squad. Yet, the Fever have seemingly decided this is good enough. But what happens when the inevitable strikes? Every single team in the league has to plan for injuries and fatigue. If Aaliyah Boston misses a stretch of games with a twisted ankle, picks up an untimely suspension, or simply needs rest, what exactly is Indiana's plan? Do they start Dantas and pray for a miracle? Do they go incredibly small and get absolutely bullied on the glass? Putting that immense defensive pressure on developing players is a recipe for disaster. The honest truth is that without Boston anchoring the paint, this team could easily spiral into a massive losing streak. They could legitimately revert to looking like a lottery team because they possess zero credible size behind their star. Building a supposed contender with such a glaring structural flaw isn't just risky, it borders on complete negligence. But that's not the wildest part. This brings us to the elephant in the room, Liz Cambage. If you only know her from the sensationalized headlines and viral soundbites, you are missing the incredibly dominant basketball player buried underneath the controversy. She is turning 35 this season, stands a legitimate 6'8", and plays with a level of physicality that terrifies opposing defenses. In her last WNBA season back in 2022, she dropped nearly 16 points a night before shockingly walking away from the league altogether. She made her reasons crystal clear, declaring she wouldn't step foot on a WNBA court again until teams started offering million-dollar contracts. She felt completely disrespected by the pay structure. Taking her talents overseas seemed like the definitive end of her American story. But rumors suggest she might not be finished just yet. Cambage just wrapped up a dominant run in the Chinese league, playing for Sichuan, averaging an astonishing 23.1 points and over 11 rebounds per game. And here is where things get really interesting. Natasha Howard, an established WNBA starter who just secured a deal with the Phoenix Mercury, played in that exact same system. Howard scored significantly less than Cambage against the exact same competition. We are not talking about a washed-up veteran sitting on a couch. We are talking about a highly productive, physical force dominating high-level competition. Reports claim she could easily step back into a rotation today. And what happened next with her legacy would spark a massive debate across the league. You cannot discuss Cambage without addressing the heavy baggage attached to her name. There are constant rumors suggesting she can be a highly disruptive presence, with reports claiming she has clashed with coaches and teammates over the years. The Las Vegas Aces eventually moved on, and the situation with the Sparks deteriorated rapidly. There are very real, legitimate reasons she is not currently on a WNBA roster, beyond her massive financial demands. Yet, there is another side to the narrative that often gets ignored. When the Aces first brought her in as a veteran presence to play alongside a young, developing Aja Wilson, it actually worked beautifully for a time. She accepted a complimentary role, mentored the younger players, and helped establish a winning, aggressive culture in Las Vegas before the relationship eventually soured. This proves that in the right environment, with a strict structure and clear expectations, Cambage can absolutely be a highly functional, devastatingly effective piece of a championship puzzle. So the ultimate question for Indiana becomes a brutal matter of priority. What matters more? Maintaining pristine, perfect vibes in the locker room, or securing a legitimate enforcer who can give you dominant minutes when Aaliyah Boston needs a breather? Let's be brutally honest about how the Fever survived last season. They rode an incredible wave of positive energy straight to a playoff berth. But the second they ran into teams with legitimate aggressive size, the illusion completely shattered. They were physically dismantled. But it gets worse when you look at the rest of the WNBA. When you look around the rest of the league, the Fever's offseason strategy completely unravels. There's a loud, optimistic narrative floating around that Indiana improved enough to challenge for a top 4 seed, putting them in the same conversation as the Liberty and the Lynx. But what evidence actually supports that? Look at the New York Liberty, boasting Breanna Stewart and Jonquel Jones, with reliable veterans backing them up. The Minnesota Lynx have a terrifyingly deep frontcourt rotation. Even the Phoenix Mercury, despite losing pieces to locker room friction and free agency, immediately retooled by bringing in tough, defensive-minded replacements and drafting perfectly for their system. Every single legitimate playoff contender is entering the season with multiple capable bigs ready to deploy. The Fever are the absolute only supposed heavyweight walking into the season with a single reliable center, crossing their fingers and hoping she somehow survives a grueling 4-0 game schedule unscathed. Is Liz Cambage the magic solution? Probably not. The financial logistics are incredibly complicated, and it's been said that her personality might be too volatile for a young locker room still finding its identity. But the sheer fact that signing a polarizing 3-5-year-old former All-Star is being viewed by some as a necessary emergency measure speaks volumes about the corner the Fever have painted themselves into. There were other avenues available. Instead, they made marginal tweaks, added to their perimeter depth, and completely ignored the massive, glaring hole right in the middle of their defense. This dangerous game of assumption is eventually going to catch up with the Indiana Fever. They are assuming the chemistry carries over perfectly, assuming their young draft picks develop into defensive stoppers overnight, and assuming that Aaliyah Boston possesses superhuman durability. But when you are building around generational talent whose championship window is opening right now, simply hoping for the best is not an acceptable strategy. The front office had a clear mandate this offseason to protect their stars and fortify the paint. By standing pat, they have created an entirely unnecessary vulnerability that could derail their entire campaign. We are going to find out very quickly if relying on a dangerously thin frontcourt was a stroke of unorthodox genius or a catastrophic failure. What do you think? Is there a hidden star they missed? Or is this roster ultimately doomed? Let us know down below. Stay locked with my channel, Simply Explained, for more updates.